rise today to talk about embarrassment. Next week, the Congress of the United States will once again have to refer on and go back to funding our federal government with an ad hoc continuing resolution. Federal law requires the Congress of the United States to pass a budget each year, requires the Congress of the United States to pass 12 appropriations bills each year by September 30th, which is coming up next week. I came to Congress in 2011, Mr. Speaker, and since then we have passed 0 regular order appropriations out of the 72 required by law. 0. And yet we've been able to find some way to pass 20 short-term continuing resolutions appropriations bills that have no reforms to spending, that have no reforms to policy, and we've passed 5 2,000-page omnibus spending bills. Somehow we were able to do those things, but we weren't able to pass 12 simple appropriation bills to properly manage the taxpayers' money. I've heard it said that the Americans are disappointed with Congress. In fact, I'm a little surprised that we have an 18% approval rating right now. Maybe we've got a lot of family members or some folks back home aren't paying attention to what's going on here. We wonder why, out of the $3.8 trillion of taxpayer dollars that we have received here in the Congress here, are not being managed correctly by the only body that can actually manage it. Why in the world aren't they fixing this problem and passing their spending bills in regular order in front of the American people where they can see it and do it instead of these ad hoc spending bills? Mr. Speaker, each year that I've been in Congress, I've authored a bill that would change our broken system and begin to fix this system that doesn't work. I would propose to you that 0 out of 72 is not a very good batting record. It's called the Biennial Budgeting and Enhanced Oversight Act. And in fact, today it has 237 co-sponsors, the majority of this House. When I introduced the bill last year, I introduced it with 108 original co-sponsors that signed on with me when we introduced it. That represents, by the way, Mr. Speaker, 50% of the whole House of Representatives. It represents 63% of the elected Republican leadership in this House. It represents 29% of the minority party. 50 Democrats have joined with Republicans and said, we need to fix this broken system. 72% of the majority party support this reform. 68% of committee chairmen support this reform. 67% of subcommittee chairmen support this reform. 65% of the Republican steering committee, the leadership of this House of Representatives, support this reform. It was referred to the Budget Committee, where 56% support the reform. It was also referred to the Rules Committee, where 54% support this reform. And yet, there's been no vote on this in the House. 237 co-sponsors represent 106 million American people whose voices have been squashed and been silenced by our lack of inaction. Mr. Speaker, I started by saying I want to talk about embarrassment. I am embarrassed for the Congress of the United States. Now, I'm proud of the effort that's been done here. I'm proud of the people and members of Congress that have stood up to finally fix this broken system, that said enough's enough. I'm proud of Senator Enzi and Senator Inhofe over in the U.S. Senate trying to advance the same types of reforms there. But I'm embarrassed for the Congress of the United States. I'm embarrassed for our leadership. I'm embarrassed because we haven't been able to do what's right, even though the majority of us agree that this is better than what we have, that this is a step forward. But I want to tell you, Mr. Speaker, what I'm more than embarrassed about. I'm disappointed. Because the only people in the country that can fix this is the Congress of the United States. Since 1974, when the Budget Act was put in place, the Congress of the United States has failed to pass its budget and its appropriations bills required by law every single year for 42 years. They've not been able to do it on time even once. Some people would argue that this isn't the best fix. It may not be the perfect fix, but I will tell you right now, Mr. Speaker, it is better than 0 out of 72, for sure. I call on the Speaker of the House to bring this bill to the floor and let 168 million Americans finally be heard.